Hi, my name is Pete Hahn, and thank you for watching this tutorial video. Be sure to visit www.hahn-tech.com for the full library of video tutorials. I hope this video increases your knowledge and helps you become more efficient with this topic, whether for home or work. Please support this channel by sharing these videos with your friends and colleagues. Hi guys, welcome to the video that introduces the upgraded version of our extremely popular divergence indicators for Thinkorswim. In this video, I'm going to show you the difference between the new version as compared to the previous version, and we're going to even introduce a new type of divergence indicator that is going to be shown right after we explain the changes in the upgraded version. Now, before we get too far along in the video, let's cover the disclaimer, which is that I am not a certified financial advisor. I am not a professional trader. I write code. I teach people how to use their technology. Nothing in this video should be interpreted as an advertisement or a recommendation to buy or sell any financial instrument. The tools that I provide are based upon feedback that we get from other viewers, as well as professional traders, as well as technical documentation that are available open source to the public. This divergence indicator simply measures the difference between the momentum of price and the price. I want you to understand that divergence in and of itself is not a buy or sell signal. These indicators do not provide entry signals. They do not provide buy or sell signals. They simply provide a measure between price and the momentum of price. Now, we've got an awful lot of details to cover in this video. I'm going to try and rush through as quickly as possible. This video is actually going to replace 3 videos that we had previously produced based upon the previous version of the indicator. So I've got a lot to cover. What are we going to cover? We're going to show how to adjust the settings. We're going to show the difference between the old version and the new version. We're going to introduce the new divergence indicator. We're going to show how that works, and we're going to show how to adjust its settings. We're going to show how the two indicators combine together on the chart and work together on the chart without interfering with one another. You're going to see how the new version of the divergence indicator presents a much cleaner chart, much easier to read, much easier to interpret. Yet all of the old symbols and functionality that were existing from the previous version are still included. You can turn them on, they're off by default. Then we're going to review a few charts. I'm going to show a grid of 4 different charts, and each chart is going to have different settings. We're going to show you how to adjust the look back settings and what that does to the signals. We're going to also show you how you can change the way swing pivots and divergence measurements are taken. You can either use the high and low of the bar, or you can use the close of the bar. And we're going to show you how that works. Next, we'll show you how to run these indicators in a custom scan. It's basically the same exact scan that was run for the previous version. And the last thing we'll show is how you can order these indicators. We're going to show you where the link is, how to get to the website. We'll show you the order form. I spent a great deal of time on the order form so that you simply make your selections, and it will show you what the pricing is and how the pricing adjusts based upon your selections. So we've hopefully made that very clear and easy to read and understand. And I want you guys to understand also that the reason we present the link showing where and how to purchase the indicator at the end of the video is that it's important to me that you guys understand what the indicators do and don't do, how you adjust them, long before you ever even consider making a purchase. Another thing to note before we get started is that this upgraded version triples the number of lines of code in the previous version. And this was a really tough decision for me because you can imagine writing 3 times the amount of code should require a great deal more money, a great deal more, a higher price, right? And so I decided that we've already committed to providing upgraded versions to those who have previously purchased our indicators without charging them a premium to get the upgraded version. And we're going to follow along with that commitment, and this new version that we're going to be showing you is going to be delivered To all those who purchased, and there's a tremendous amount of people that have purchased this indicator. I haven't even totaled up the amount of money that I'm giving away by giving people a free upgrade. And when you see the difference between the two, this version and the old version, you're going to say, you should have charged them. But you know what? If you've already purchased our standard divergence indicators, then check your inbox, because by the time this video is published, we've already sent out that email, including the new and improved version, the upgraded version. So you already got that in your inbox. If you can't find it in your inbox, just shoot us an email and we'll make sure we get it to you. Okay guys, let's get started and introduce the new version, and we'll walk you through step by step showing how to set it up and then make the adjustments and see how it looks on the chart. You're going to really like this. And as I already mentioned, what we have here on our chart is the previous version. You can see that all of the plots have been turned on. You can see we've got the blue squares, which indicate the swing pivots that are being measured and picked up by the code. We have the arrows that are indicating points where the difference between one swing high and another compared to the value of the MACD in this case shows a divergence indication, and you can see the chart bubbles plotted next to each of the arrows. That gives you a description of each of those types of divergence. You can also see in the upper left that we have the legend, the color legend, that tells you based upon which color arrow you see, which type of divergence is present. So let's not spend too much time looking at this previous version. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show them side by side so that you can compare. On the left we have the new version. The new version actually plots the lines from one swing high to another, as well as from one swing low to another. So we no longer need to plot the little blue squares. The arrows are still present so that you can see the point where divergence is being indicated. And I think you can see much more clearly with the color of the lines being encoded matching the legend, that you really don't need those chart bubbles either, because you can easily see based on the color of the line and the arrow which type of divergence is there. And you can even turn off the legend once you become accustomed to the color code, so that you don't even need to have that cluttering up your chart. So you can see I'm going to use the mouse cursor. You can see from one side to the other that the mouse cursor is synced between these two charts. And so you can see this blue square on the right hand side that I'm kind of circling with my mouse. You can see on the left side where that is indicating the beginning of a red line. You can see that red line continues on up to this high, and you can see that that is a double negative divergence. For those of you who are new to the indicator, double negative divergence in this case indicates that it's both the histogram of the MACD as well as the value line of the MACD, and it's measuring divergence between both of those. You see, these divergence indicators are able to measure divergence on two different lower plots. In this case, the MACD is able to measure divergence across the histogram as well as across the value line. And when it combines the two and finds divergence on both of them at the same time, it reports double negative divergence. Otherwise, it will show you, as in this example here, you've got a histogram negative divergence here, and in other times, I don't see one on the chart, but at other times you will see a value negative divergence. You can see up here in the legend in the upper left, you got value negative divergence, histogram negative divergence, double negative divergence, and you've got the same type of plots for positive divergence. Okay, so that's the big introduction. Now you get to see how much cleaner the charts can be and how much easier it is to see exactly how the indicator is measuring the divergence signals. And what we're going to do next is we're going to step through some grids, a set of 4 different charts that will show you how the signals of divergence adjust based upon the settings. And we're going to look at 3 different settings. We're going to look at the look-back period, which affects how far apart the swing pivots are going to be on average. In other words, a higher look-back value will allow it to find divergence on a larger portion of the price structure. And then the other 2 settings that we'll examine are the way that it defines a swing pivot, whether it's looking at a high or a close of a bar. And so let's go ahead and get on into that set of charts, and we'll go through those settings rather quickly. You can pause the video at any time, and I encourage you to do so because we are going to try to go through very quickly to keep this video in a reasonable time span. Okay, here's our first set of 4 charts, and I'll go ahead and post the settings. What I've done is I've taken screenshots of the settings. When you go to Studies, Edit Studies, and hit the gear icon, that's what you get. And what I've done is I've taken screenshots and I've placed over each of the 4 charts the settings that are being applied to each one. So go ahead and take a look at that right now. You can come back to this part of the video if you lose track of what these settings are. But these are the settings for the look back period. And you can see in the upper left we've got a look back period of 3. We've got a look back period of 5 in the upper right. In the lower left we've got a look back period of 8. And in the lower right we've got a look back period of 13. And you can see some examples. I'll just point out with the mouse cursor here. You've got this line here on the lower right, this measure of divergence here from this high to this high. That's being picked up because the look back period has increased to 13 in the lower right, and then the indicator is able to span this large distance here and pick up that signal that the other settings were not able to pick up. So that just clearly demonstrates how that works. Okay, the next set of 4 charts, we're going to be examining another setting. We're going to put everything to a look back period of 8, and then we're going to vary the way that the indicator determines what is a swing pivot and whether to use the high and low of the bar or the close of the bar when determining the difference between price and the momentum of price in the calculation of divergence. Okay, so here are the new set of charts, and as I mentioned, these charts are going to show a different setting. I'll go ahead and post those settings now just as before. You can see in the upper left it's using a high-low, as well as an 8-period look back. In the upper right, you're seeing that it's set to close and high-low, and then also a period of 8 for the look back. In the lower left, we've got a high-low, close, 8-period look back, and in the lower right, we've got close, close, and an 8-period look back. So you can see that there are some differences in the signals. Let's go ahead and point out a few of those. You can see in the lower left, you've got some divergence indications here that are not present on any of the others, except for you've got one in the upper left there. And I'll let you go ahead and you can pause this video if you want to study this in greater detail. One of the things I want to point out, we'll go ahead and maximize this chart down here because I want you to see something very important. We're going to zoom in on this signal right here. You can see that the lines are being drawn from close to close. Close to close. No longer are these lines being drawn from low to low or high to high. Why? Because when you go to Studies and Edit Studies and you click the gear icon, you see that the divergence price is set to close. So the lines are adapting to show which price on the chart is being used when measuring the divergence between price and the momentum of price. Okay? Okay, so we've only looked at the MACD version of the divergence indicators to this point. Next, I'm going to show you the version that also covers the stochastic and the RSI. Remember that each of these indicators are able to plot based upon 2 different lower studies. So this one handles the MACD, the value line, as well as a histogram. The next one I'm going to show you shows you divergence between the stochastic full as well as the RSI, 2 completely different lower studies, all combined to show divergence in one indicator. Okay, here we have the grid of 4 charts that shows the stochastic and the RSI divergence indicator. And I'll go ahead and post the settings right now. This is just like the first set we showed you on the MACD. This one varies the look back period on each of the 4. You can see that setting is adjusted for each one. You've got 3, 5, 8, and 13 going from left to right, top to bottom. And I'll just point out a few of the signals that are different. You can see down here in the bottom right and the bottom left, you've got a signal of divergence that's indicated that didn't get picked up by the other settings. And I'll let you go ahead and pause the video if you want to study that in any greater detail so you can see the difference between the different settings. Next, we'll show you a set of 4 charts where we vary the other 2 settings on the indicator. And once again, I'll go ahead and post the screenshots showing the settings for each of those 4 charts. Go ahead and pause the video if you want to take a look at those in detail. But you basically have the default settings in the upper left. Then in the upper right, you've got the close and the high-low. And then the lower left, you've got the high-low and the close. And the lower right, you've got the close and close. So this is basically the same that we saw on the MACD. I really don't think I need to go into any more detail than that. As I said, you go ahead and pause the video and study these in greater detail so that you can understand how these settings affect the behavior of the signals. Up to this point, I have not been plotting the lower studies along with these indicators so that we can see the price action as well as the signals a little bit more clearly and emphasize those. But now I want to explain so that you can see clearly on the chart how the divergence is being measured, and that is the price and the momentum of price. So I'm just going to go ahead and draw a few of these using trend line tool on Thinkorswim. And I'm just going to pick out some of the ones that appear rather obvious and are easy to spot with the naked eye. You can see that downward sloping trend line here. And don't get mixed up here because this particular indication here, look at the color code, this is a histogram positive divergence. So don't be trying to figure out how it works with the value line, it's in the histogram. So you go ahead and click from here on the histogram up to this little dot right here on the histogram. You can see if I expand that, it's a little easier to see that that is sloping, and it is tough to see some of these. But that's why we have an indicator, because the human eye sometimes is not able to see these very subtle changes and these very subtle divergences. But the indicator is able to do it because it's just simply math. Let's go ahead and look at this one here. This is a double divergence, so we'll go ahead and draw a trend line along the value line, which is the blue line for the MACD, from here to here. Notice it's a double divergence, so we'll go ahead and also draw the line on the histogram of the MACD, here to here. And I did forget to draw the histogram on this one over here, so let's go ahead and draw that in real quick. So we've got positive histogram over here, and we've got just barely positive over here, and we've got a little bit of a negative histogram in between those two. If you Google the MACD divergence, you're going to see that this little dip below the 0 line on a negative divergence is a very powerful, important signal. So I encourage you to go ahead and look up the specs. You can easily find information on this online. I don't need to tell you how to trade with this. You can find a lot of professional traders out there who are teaching people how to use divergence in their trading setups. Okay, so now that you understand how the divergence is being measured and you understand what divergence is, in other words, upward sloping price and downward sloping momentum gives you negative divergence. And likewise, for positive divergence, you have downward sloping price while you have upward sloping momentum. Okay, now it's time to introduce the new type of divergence. And I want to tell you up front that the only reason that I have this new form of divergence indicator is because I've had viewers that purchased the previous version requested that I have this other type of divergence included in it. Now I want you to understand very clearly these are two separate and distinct indicators. One shows the standard divergence and the other one shows a different type of divergence. I'm going to introduce that now. I'm going to show you in a way that you hopefully understand very clearly that we have two different types of indicators. We have two separate study files. They're completely independent of one another. The people who are getting the free upgrade for the standard version of divergence are not going to be receiving the new type of divergence indicator. That's a separate, completely self-contained piece of code they'll be able to receive that at a discounted price, but it's not going to be available for free as part of the upgrade. Okay guys, and here it is. This is called hidden divergence. Now when you apply this to an RSI, it's also sometimes called a reversal or an RSI reversal. So you can Google those terms. You can Google hidden divergence, and you can also Google RSI reversal, and you will see very similar teaching on this particular type of divergence. So the indicator itself is going to be called hidden divergence because that seems to be widely recognized, and we can't name it both things, so we had to pick one. And just to briefly explain this type of divergence as it is described and applied by professional traders, you go out there, like I said, do your research, read the information that's out there publicly available, and you will find that this type of divergence, hidden divergence, is a continuation signal. In other words, this particular divergence right here that happens right at the end of 2016, the beginning of 2017, that arrow right there would indicate a continuation or an expected continuation of the upward trend. So the hidden divergence is more of a trend following, while the standard divergence is more of a trend reversal type of signal. Okay, you understand that? So again, like I said, there are no entry signals here. This does not telling you where to buy and where to sell. It's a tool. Do your research, read up on it, understand what the professionals teach, and then make your decision whether you need to buy this indicator or not. Okay, next I'm going to show you a set of 4 charts, and we're going to basically walk through the same thing we did with the standard divergence, but we're going to do it with the hidden divergence. I'm going to show you with a grid of 4 charts how the different settings affect the behavior and the signals that the indicator displays. So here you have your grid of 4 charts, different settings on each chart, and as before, I've gone ahead and posted that little snapshot, that little screenshot showing what the settings are from left to right, top to bottom. You got a look back period of 3, 5, 8, and 13. Go ahead and pause this so that you can study how the signals differ based upon that setting. I'm going to move on to the next chart. And once again, I'm going to go ahead and post those little screenshots so that you can see the difference settings for each of these 4 charts. You can see in this case, we're not varying the look back period. We're varying the other 2 settings, which can be either set to high, low, or close. So I'll go ahead and move on to the next chart. Since we've already gone through this previously with the other indicator, I'm going to rush through these pretty quickly. Just go ahead and pause so that you can look at the different signals, look at the different charts to understand how the settings affect the different charts. So this has been the MACD, and let's do this real quick. Let me show you how you can tell the difference between, okay, let's go ahead and zoom in here. I should show you this real quick. And you can see how some of these divergence signals are a solid line and some are a dotted line. You can see in the description here we've got the indicators called chart hidden div lines MACD X2. So this is the MACD version. So we go to studies and edit studies. I want to show you how you can tell the difference between each of the different plots. So you can see here if we look at the histogram negative div line and the value negative div line, okay, the value negative div line is a solid line. The histogram negative div line is a dotted line. Same thing for positive divergence. The value line is displayed with a solid line, while the histogram version is plotted with dots. Now the reason I do that, I'll hit cancel here, is because you can easily tell when one or the other is present. You've got histogram divergence or you've got value line divergence. And in the case, let's see if I can find one here real quick. I'm not finding it real quick here, so I'm just going to kind of move on. But what you'll find is when you see these dots are connected with a thin line in between them, what you really have here is double divergence. So in this way, and I'll see if I can spot it and identify it for you as we review the other charts, but I thought it'd be important so you can identify which of these plots is the value line, which is the histogram, and how to tell when there's double divergence, because this indicator does the same. We just don't have a color scheme, we don't have a color legend, and for that this indicator is greatly reduced price over the standard divergence indicator. So we'll go ahead and move on to the next set of charts. And this set of charts is going to be for the stochastic and the RSI version of the hidden divergence indicator. You can go to Studies and Edit Studies, and you can view the plots. And you can see that the stochastic is the solid line and the RSI is the dotted line. I'll show you again with the positive divergence. The RSI is again the dotted line. The stochastic is the solid line. Okay, so go ahead and cancel here. Now I'll go ahead and post the settings. As you can see, we've got a different look back period in each of these charts, and you can see how that look back period is dramatically changing the signals in this case. So we'll go ahead and move on to the next chart so that we can see how the other setting changes these signals. And here we go. We'll go ahead and post those screenshots, and you can go ahead and look at the different settings. And then again, we'll take those down so that you can see the chart. And I'll let you go ahead and pause the video if you want to study these signals and see how those changes affect the signals. Okay, moving on, the next thing I'm going to show you is how you can combine these two indicators on the same chart and how it looks when you do that. And after we get done with that, we're going to go through the scans. I'm going to show you how to run the scans on both different types of indicators, the standard divergence as well as the hidden divergence. And then we'll wrap things up. I'll go ahead and present the link to our page on our website where you can go ahead and place your order for any one of these indicators, and we'll explain how that form works and how your selections adjust the pricing, and you'll even have a spot where you can enter comments or questions if you need clarification on anything before you make your purchase. And so here we are back to the standard divergence indicator plotted on a single chart. And I go ahead and I can hit the arrow up here in the upper right, and I can move to the next chart, which shows you the hidden divergence indicator. And then if I press that arrow one more time, it'll take us to a combined chart where both of the indicators are plotted together. And I'm not going to do a great deal of explanation here. I've already explained how each of the indicators work and what those signals are actually measuring on the chart. So you can go ahead and pause the video and study this and see how these signals are playing out, and you can compare them and see how these two indicators blend together. So we're able now, because we have two separate indicators, a standard divergence indicator, completely standalone and separate from a hidden divergence indicator. If all you really care about is standard divergence, then you can go ahead and buy that one. If all you care about is hidden divergence, then you can go ahead and buy the hidden divergence. We don't combine them together and force you to pay for both, but if you want to buy both, we've got a special price for you. We're going to discount the hidden divergence if you buy it along with the standard divergence. But we'll get to that pricing here in a little bit. This is the MACD version. I'm going to then go ahead and show you the RSI version. Okay, so here is the standard divergence indicator for the stochastic and the RSI. You can see those indicators plotted below. You don't need to plot them, as I've already mentioned before. The indicator measures without needing to plot them in the lower subgraph. Go ahead then and move one chart to the right, and you can see then this is the hidden divergence indicator for the stochastic and RSI. And if we go to the next chart, we'll see the two of them plotted together on the same chart. Once again, I'm going to remind you, they are two completely separate individual indicators. You can purchase one or the other, or you can purchase both in a bundle, and we're going to get into that pricing. But first, let's show you how to run the scans. We're not really going to get into how to build a custom scan because we've got lots and tons of videos on our website and YouTube channel that show you how to build custom scans. All we're going to do really is show you what the scan code looks like, where you can change the settings and where you can select the different types of scan signals to scan for. Okay, very quickly, here we are on the scan tab of the Thinkorswim platform. I've got a couple of standard filters that I use, like I'm scanning all stocks, intersecting with all optionable, and I'm scanning for a minimum price of $10. I'm also looking at average volume over the last 14 days being greater than 500,000 shares. Then over here, if you press the pencil icon, then I've got the code already installed here, and I've got a bunch of extra lines added so that I protect the code that's already there, because after all, this is a premium indicator and I certainly don't want to expose any of that code on a public video. So here is where you can change the settings. If you needed to change, for instance, the swing pivot price from the default of high-low to close, what you would do is you would remove the word default from in front of high-low close, and you would paste it in front of close. Make sure there's a space there between default and that quote. So that's how you would change the input of swing pivot price from high-low to close. The same would be done for divergence price. Okay. Look back bars, you're familiar with that setting. You've seen that a lot on the charts, and so you go ahead and change that value right here. Alert on close, we're going to have to also go into a live demo, and that's going to be some pre-recorded video that I'm going to narrate over, and I had to use on demand, and there were some limitations, but I was able to get some live price action to trigger alerts on the platform. So we've got lots of examples of that, different time frames, different instruments. So we're going to show you that after we get done showing you the scan setup, and then we'll get to the final part, which is presenting the link to the website where you can place your order. So let's go ahead and go to the bottom of this screen, and I'll show you the different types of signals that you can run. So you've got the scan plots are right here. Any negative divergence, any positive divergence. You can see this one here is currently set up to look for any positive divergence. And what it's really doing is it's saying any positive divergence that has occurred in the previous bar. So it's not going to look at the current bar, but the previous bar. You can change that value. Let's say you wanted to look at anything that occurred within the last 10 days. Just put a 10 here. Then it will start looking for signals that occurred anywhere in the last 10 days. Okay, so that's it. Next I'm going to show you how to do this for the hidden divergence. I'm going to go ahead and press cancel here. Okay, and all I did was pause the recording and copy and pasted the scan for the hidden divergence. You can see it looks very much like the other one. It's got the same settings pretty much. And if you need to adjust any of the other settings for the MACD, the histogram, the stochastic, the RSI, those settings are listed down below what you see on the screen here. So now let's go ahead and show you the different signals for which you can scan. Go ahead and bring that back over. And it's pretty much exactly the same as the other one. It's just measuring divergence in a different way, this time hidden divergence. So if you learn how to run one scan, you'll be able to run the other. It's basically exactly the same section of code down here in the bottom. Okay, I didn't even have to copy and paste or pause the video and all that. Okay, so let's go ahead and hit cancel. We're not going to run any scans. And if you guys need to understand anything more about scans, we've got lots of videos on our website that show how you can build a custom scan and how to run a scan and the different things you can do with scans, like setting up alerts and stuff like that. I'm not going to go into that in this video. I really am going way too long on the video already, I feel anyway. I don't want to burn out your patience any further. So let's go ahead and get into the live demo. And then after the live demo, immediately following that, we're going to post the link. I'm going to show you the form on our webpage and how to fill it out, and then the rest is up to you. Okay, and this is the beginning of the section of the video that we're going to be showing you the live demo. And it's not actually a live demo. You can see on my chart here that I'm actually using the on-demand feature of Thinkorswim. There were some limitations. I was not able to get the charts to show Forex, for example. And unfortunately, I'm not able to show you that. However, I did test it during live market hours, and it does work just as well as you're going to see it displayed here on chart symbols like, for instance, the YM. So here you've got the first signal. It's going to show up in the chart here on the right-hand side. You can see the line, you can see the arrow. You haven't heard any sound yet for the alert. The alert doesn't sound until that signal is locked in. Okay, there we have our first alert. You can see it in the upper left-hand corner. You can see it describes the source of that alert, and then you can also see that it's been added to the message center. So once again, I would like to emphasize that when you see the line and the arrow appear on the chart, that doesn't mean that the signal is locked in. You see we've got another signal here, and this time it's on both the left-hand and the right-hand charts. Now you see, until that bar closes, right now that current bar that's to the far right of each chart, until that bar closes, the signal could change. For instance, if that bar were to reverse and go down below the signal, and there we go, we just locked it in. Okay, and I'm going to actually show you here in the next couple of examples. I don't know which one, but in the next couple of examples you're actually going to see how that signal can disappear if the price action changes. Okay, so you notice that we also had the audible alert as well as the visual alert, and it shows up in the message center. We're going to change charts here, and now we're going to look at Apple, and this is a 1-minute chart. The last chart was a chart of YM, that's the Dow futures, the Dow mini futures, and that was a tick chart. So that was a 133 tick chart. And here you see a signal that this is the preliminary signal. Again, as I said, this is not locked in yet, but this is a preliminary signal that's showing up on both charts, and it is subject to change until this current bar closes. It is subject to change. And there it is. Like I said, as soon as that bar closes, then we have a signal locked in, except the problem is, in this case, that signal was invalidated when the current bar reached the bottom, the low of the signal bar. Okay? So what that essentially did is that erased the swing pivot that was forming at that point and invalidated any type of divergence signal from that spot. Okay, we've got about 10 seconds left in this bar, and you can see that the two charts, the one on the left and the one on the right, aren't exactly in sync. This was a little bug resulting from the on-demand feature not working quite perfectly here. It's a little, I don't know what you would call sketchy, but it does provide accurate data once the bar closes. So we know that we've got good data here once we get a bar that closes, but they're not going to be exactly synced from one side to the other. Again, we're going to wait to see if this current signal is going to be completed and locked in at the close of this bar. This bar that's currently playing out and has about 20 seconds left to play out. This bar has the potential to erase that signal if it goes below the low of the signal bar. Okay, we've got about 5 seconds left here in the bar. There it is. Did you see it? As soon as that bar closed, that locked in that signal. Now we've got the alert in the upper left-hand corner, and we also have the alert showing in the message center. The messages in the message center are a little, I would say, unsorted because I'm using on-demand feature, and it's sorted by time and not by date and time. So as I'm moving the time around here to capture the signals using on-demand, the messages in the message center are getting a bit mixed up. So don't worry about that. They'll work just fine on a live chart. Okay, and next we're going to be moving back to the Dow Mini, and this is going to be a 30-minute. And in this example, we're actually going to be showing you the hidden divergence, and we're going to be eventually turning this back onto a live chart. But what I wanted to do is identify some signal here that we could zero in on. And this is a 30-minute chart, so it's a little tricky to get this to trigger in a live demo that we want to compress within a few minutes of time. So that's why we're using the on-demand feature. It gives us the benefit of hindsight that we can zero in on the exact bar and then adjust the time using the on-demand feature so that we can arrive at pretty close to the close of the bar that's going to trigger that signal. Okay, and you can see that as that new bar opened up, it formed a divergence, and you can see that that line is appearing and disappearing. That is based upon the current close of the current bar. This one is set so that it's looking at the close of the bar for the swing pivot rather than the low of the bar. So you can see as the YM meets the close of that bar that the signal will disappear. But as soon as that close goes above the close of the previous bar, then the signal is valid. So all we've got to do then is play this thing out, and we're not going to have to wait for a full 30 minutes to see the close of this signal. So we'll use the benefit of on-demand and we'll adjust the time. Okay, the chart on the left is finally caught up. The on-demand feature is finally working on the left side, but not the right. We have our signal here. You can see it's a histogram hidden positive divergence, and it does show up in the message center. Again, I want to remind you that the order of the messages have been scrambled, so to speak. And lo and behold, look at this. We've got the right side has already finally caught up. And the bar closes, and bingo, we've got our alert. You can see a stochastic hidden positive divergence. And again, we'll look at the message center. Like I said, it's a little tough because everything gets scrambled because I keep moving the time around on the chart. And as these signals come in, they show up in a different part here. So we'll scroll down to the bottom of the message center, and then you'll be able to see these two alerts for the hidden divergence. Okay guys, that's the end of the live demo portion of the video. Next, we're going to wrap this thing up. We're going to give you the link where you can go and fill out the form to place your order. We're going to show you how to use the form to select the items that you want, and you'll see how the pricing works out, and stay tuned. Okay guys, here we are. We're going to present the link so that you know where to go on our website to place your order, and we'll go ahead and show you how to fill out the order form and how to make your selections based upon which parts of the indicator that you want to purchase. So let me go ahead and bring that into view right now, and we'll go ahead and post the link. The link is not presented here on the web page, so I'm going to add it in as an annotation here. So you go ahead and go to that link on our website, and when you go to that link, this is the page that you'll see. And this is a page that briefly describes the pricing. You can see that there's been an increase in price for the MACD as well as the RSI stochastic version of the standard divergence indicator. Like I said, the code base is now 3 times larger than the previous version, and we're only increasing the price by $30. I think that's insane personally, but that's the number I came up with. It's the number I feel that is appropriate, and I wish it were more, honestly. I think it deserves much more. But I think that this is going to be a very popular upgrade. And again, like I said, those who have already purchased the previous version at $129 are already going to be receiving the new upgraded version. But that does not include the hidden divergence. We've got hidden divergence down here added as $79 each. So for the MACD hidden divergence, it's $79. If you wanted to buy the RSI and stochastic hidden divergence, that is $79. You can see that we still have our value bundle. Buy them together, that is the MACD X2 and the RSI and stochastic divergence lines for Thinkorswim. That's a value of $318. You're getting a discount of 20% for a total of $254. And there's also available a discount for what we call a combo discount. A combo discount is when you combine, for instance, the MACD X2 standard divergence indicator with the MACD X2 hidden divergence indicator. I'll show you how that all works on the form, and here's the form right here. So we'll go ahead and scroll down so you can see the form. You go ahead and enter the first name and your last name and your email address. Let me go ahead and do that for you real quick. I'll just put in my own information here. Everybody knows this email address. I get lots of emails to this address, so I'm not worried about posting this one on YouTube. Sorry, I put that in the last name column. I'm going to copy and paste that down. So then we'll put in last name here. Look at this. I'm not even following directions. Okay. Don't do what I do. All right. So, all right, and then we've got some instructions over here. So you can go ahead and read through those. But it basically explains that you've got these item selections to make here. Let's say that you wanted to buy the standard divergence lines for the MACD X2. You go ahead and click that. You can see that that total is 159, and it updates the subtotal here, 159. Now, there's no discounts applied at this level, so the discounts are 0 at this point. So what happens then, with the way the form is designed, you have a subtotal, you have a discount total, your grand total is down here. So make your selections whichever way you want to slice and dice this. Make your selections, the grand total will be updated. You'll get an email in response to your order submission which will contain which items that you've ordered and what your subtotal, discount, and grand total is, so that you guys have all that information available. And when we go ahead and send the invoice via PayPal, we'll be using this information, so be sure to choose carefully exactly what you want. Remember, I told you about the combo discount. If you purchase, for instance, both the standard divergence lines and the hidden divergence lines for both the MACD-X2, I'll go ahead and check that box here. You can see that there is a discount applied of $39. So you start off with a subtotal of $238. We apply a discount of $39. You can see the discount percent in the lower left here, and we got a grand total of $199. So for those of you who have purchased the previous version, who are now getting the upgrade for free for the standard divergence indicators, if you would like to purchase the hidden divergence lines indicator to go along with the version that you've already purchased for the standard divergence, then that's going to be a $40 purchase. It's unbelievable. I can't believe I'm doing this. The level of sophistication in this code and the number of lines in the code and what it took for me to learn how to do this pricing is insane. It's crazy. It's wholesale. And you certainly would not get this if I were a professional trader purchasing an indicator from a professional developer. You're getting even a discount on the developer price. It's crazy. So let me show you then, if you go ahead and uncheck that, the discount disappears. If you check both of these standard divergence lines indicators, then you're going to get what we call our value bundle discount, and that is $64 off. You can see it's a 20% discount, and the grand total is reflected here at $254. So what if you wanted the grand package, if you wanted everything? Well, just check all the boxes and you'll see that you'll get the standard hidden combo discount of $39 times 2. You're going to get that twice. Okay, so you're getting the standard hidden combo discount for the MACD-X2, the discount for the Stochastic RSI, as well as the value bundle. So we pile all those bundles together and we get a discount of $142. You can see that it's saving nearly 30% on your purchase of $334 if you wanted to buy everything all together. Now I can tell you that for the previous version, it was extremely popular. In fact, I think something to the tune of 95% of our sales for the previous version were people that bought both the standard, both the MACD and the Stochastic and the RSI indicator, the value bundle as we call it. So I would really like to see you guys take advantage of this. Again, every time we make an upgrade to an indicator, the people who purchased it previously get the upgrade version for free. And if you didn't get in at the base ground floor, then you pay the new price. We increase the price every time we make an upgrade. So make sure that when you spot an indicator that you think you might like, don't wait for the price to come down. The price is only going up. Now, if you have any questions or comments, I did leave this here in the form. So if you have any questions or comments, now we handle all of these purchases by hand. And what we do is I read every email, I personally respond to every email, I process every single invoice. It's all done by hand. And we have a lot of people, because of this format, that have questions. And a lot of times, there's a rare occasion where we point them in another direction, or we tell them, this is probably not going to be the right indicator for you because the questions you're asking the indicator to do something other than it's designed to do. How can we help you? Some people are putting in questions about, hey, I want to do something other than a MACD, an RSI, or a stochastic. Can you build me a custom version of this indicator that includes a different lower study, for instance, CCI? We have done several of those, and it's a $50 add-on. Whatever it is that you're purchasing, after we apply all the discounts, $50 additional fee will get you the modified version, whatever it is you need for your lower study, and we can plot divergence against it. It really needs to be a momentum type of study, stochastic, RSI, CCI, one of those. There's lots of others out there. So go ahead and put in your comments and questions, and then you just hit the submit form. And after you hit the submit, you'll see a notification here that the form has been submitted successfully, and then you're on your way. So guys, thanks a lot for watching. I know this has been a very long video, but I needed to cram basically 3 videos worth of information into a single video, and I really appreciate your patience. Thank you so much for your support. You guys are great, and I'm so glad to be able to do this for a living and be able to focus solely on providing technical tools, knowledge, and training to other traders to help them to get the best use out of their technology, and particularly the Thinkorswim platform. Thanks for watching, guys. Take care. Thank you for watching this tutorial video. Be sure to visit www.hahn-tech.com for the full library of tutorials. I hope this video increases your knowledge and helps you become more efficient with this topic, whether for home or work. Please support this channel by sharing these videos with your friends and colleagues. Thanks, and take care.